Welcome to the second episode, Season 3, Born in Trouble. I'm your host, John X. Coming to you straight from out of... What? No, stop shaking your head, Rob. Rob Brooks.
Oh, literally, as soon as you started the thing, it sounded like you were underwater, and then it got choppy.
Yep. Sound like the mic was in your
Like if you could hear what we were hearing, you'd be shaking your head too.
Well, look, there's nothing I can do right now, and everything about that.
Who is that in the background?
We're gonna stop with all the references.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say Rob Brooks from New Jersey, Gene Hopkins, and Grant Lancaster from Detroit, Michigan. Gene Hopkins from Atlanta, Georgia, by way of California, by way of the world. Welcome to Born in Trouble.
Oh, she got company.
Malaysia's favorite show. Yes. No? No. Anyway, fellas, what's happening? What's good? We're going to jump right into it today and get right into the topics of conversation, which are numerous and many, because just like the world, it's very convoluted right now. I don't want to start with where everybody else usually goes, which is the orange one. And, of course, we've been going through a lot of stuff with the last couple of weeks with banks, so I think I'm going to jump off right there. And we've seen some savings in some banks that have recently crashed, new banks that have speculated a lot in cryptocurrency. And a lot of people are feeling a certain way about the bailouts that have happened. Any of you guys feel any certain way? Do you feel like we should have let those banks crash? Because in a true capitalistic system, you take risk, those risks don't work, you lose your money. So a lot of people are feeling a certain way about this. What do you think?
Been a long time since we were truly a capitalist society, so this ain't shocking.
Right.
Like there's always been welfare for the rich, and it will continue. Socialism. They all say that they're against socialism until their ass is in a bind, and then they reach out to the collective for some help.
Yeah, poor people take risks. Rich people don't take risks.
Mm.
Gene, anything?
Yeah, fuck them banks, man. Who cares?
Well,
who cares if they get bailed out?
Well, the
interesting. Just keep the facade. Let's keep the facade going. Goddamn it! So I'm talking about till the train comes completely off the tracks.
Well,
tell that band to keep fucking playing.
Titanic reference. I like that one.
That's how I feel.
Listen, people have felt it different ways. I saw one guy that said that very simply, they didn't bail out the bank. They bailed out all of the depositors who were invested more than $250,000 in the bank. Those are the people that they actually bailed out, and that the bank itself is still going to be in trouble. It's still going to face problems. One of the banks, I believe, they paid out bonuses the day before. And then they said they were scheduled bonuses, but we know how that works. We've seen that game plan over and over and over again with companies when they're going bankrupt. The executives get the golden parachute, and the employees get the shaft. So are we going to continue to just, I guess there's really not a choice. The one thing that I always find interesting about this is when people start saying, oh, that damn Joe Biden or that damn Donald Trump. Yeah, don't most people realize that these things are not bipartisan. These are not bipartisan decisions. They're decisions that are made by the government, because the government is wholly owned by 1% of the people who own this country. Would you guys disagree with that?
I'm in lockstep with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to really disagree with in that statement right there. I mean, you don't take care of the people who donate to your campaigns, you don't get reelected. So, whatever they want, whatever they need.
Well, you talk about you don't get reelected. It's kind of the short-sightedness. We've had election reform has been on the menu for the past 20, 30 years in the United States, and it never gets passed. And the reason why it never gets passed is because as soon as it doesn't get passed, then those people become uncontrollable. So, do you think that election reform would be something that could actually help this, especially with the large
systemic reform?
Systemic reform.
Election reform is like. So election reform is just like changing the curtains on the fucking, windows and shit. Like, all right, we got blue curtains now instead of yellow curtains.
Yeah.
The system is deeply corrupt.
Yeah. It's like election reform is like food choice on the Titanic.
Gene,
we need more rafts.
Gene, were you watching?
We need more rafts.
Were you watching the Titanic before you came on his show? Because that's the second Titanic reference you've made in the past 10 minutes.
That's because that's the first thing I think of when I think of somebody, chirping about the president, either Biden, Trump, or anything, being responsible for this, that, and the other. As if it's like the president was, I'm going to be evil now, and just start doing all this shit just so that, it's just ridiculous, I think, the whole experiment is the Titanic.
Can you agree that they're all complicit in this? Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
They're all complicit. And there's no.
But they're all complicit in everything, though.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, is that they're complicit in everything. And now it may not be right, and it may not. This particular guy may be outside of this particular argument, but on the whole, they moving in lockstep with each other.
Yeah.
If you're all bought into the same system, then you have to be in lockstep at some point. Right. It's not like one side is pitching a completely different way of doing things.
They're all cut.
They're all talking the same thing. It's just like our center stays on the block while your center might flash up to the free throw line every once in a while.
Right.
But we basically running the same offense and shit.
It's all Princeton.
The game's all the same.
It's all Princeton. Who made it to the Sweet 16, by the way. Congratulations to Princeton. You smart-ass motherfuckers, as if you don't have enough advantages.
My boy T-Max did the...
Yeah, I got him taking a swift L in the first game.
As if you motherfuckers...
Yeah, they made it.
As if those motherfuckers don't have enough advantages. Now they're going to the Sweet 16. Congratulations, Princeton. You spoiled white bread motherfuckers.
When all the best players are already in the NBA, so it's intramurals now.
That's the truth. Watching the NCAA basketball game now is just like, it's a snooze fest to me. It's like a whole bunch of players that are really on the same level. How could you ever get a bracket? You might as well just grab your bracket and just fill out anything you want in it. Because there really aren't that many elite teams, quote unquote, in college basketball.
It's hard to do that now with the new rules. It's hard to put together an elite team. The transfer portal, it's killing college basketball. Transfer portal, NIL, killing college basketball.
NIL was
killing it.
That was a great.
Well, what'd you say? It's killing
name, image, and likeness. The ability of players to generate money for name, image, and likeness. It's definitely going to be a reshaping, but I don't know if anybody's going to like the shape that comes out at the end. Temple's head coach just walked out. I don't know if he walked out. He was probably pushed out. Mm-hmm. But, Temple is the perfect example. Like, there's 6 Division I schools in Philadelphia. They're never going to get NIL money like that. Schools where the school is the center of everything.
No car dealerships around Temple.
There are 5 other Division I schools. An NBA team, a Major League Baseball team, an NFL team, Major League Lacrosse, Major League Soccer. They're trying to get a WNBA squad here. There's too many other places to put your money than some 19-year-old kid. None of it matters that much in Philadelphia. It's not like, say you go to North Carolina. They ain't shit else around University of North Carolina. except Duke.
Right.
You know, that's it. If you want entertainment on a Saturday night, what's going on the campus? Or can we drive to Greensboro? Is there somebody playing at the arena in Greensboro? Those are your choices. So everybody's behind the team. Everybody's behind the school.
Right.
You know.
I hear that about TCU. Ain't shit else to do in that town.
There's a lot of places like that, man. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to have, you know, UK, then people have been trying to give them kids money forever, and now they're allowed to. So them kids are going to have everything they want. So are you going to go to maybe a school in a city that's not as glamorous, but pick up $50K a year and some food and whatever? Or are you going to go to Temple where, you know, if you're lucky, you get a couple sandwiches, you know, for your posts or whatever. You get some free sandwiches at the Owl's Nest after games.
You know, the other thing is,
no
too,
bueno.
I think the NBA is going global, and they're not concerned with stuff like the NCAA tournament because it's global pickings right now, and there's some European ball players, man. They've been playing with grown men since they was 14, 15. That look a whole lot better to an NBA team than some of these college players, I would imagine.
I think that,
and they also got different attitudes coming in too.
I think that a player like Giannis is kind of like the future of the NBA in a large way. You've got a lot of people. You've got a lot of these African countries where there's very talented, politically talented individuals that are just waiting to be developed in different countries and in different places. And a guy like Giannis, who doesn't have the same animus towards the United States, the people towards the United States, it's almost as if they're more... Yeah, I wouldn't say that Giannis is racially unaware. Nothing about him has made me think that he's racially unaware. He does talk about his time in Greece and the racism that he experienced sometimes when he was coming up in Greece, and him and his family were coming up in Greece. But at the same time, it's not the same type of story. It's like, I think what we're seeing is like it's very interesting in the NBA when you talk about a guy like Kyrie Irving as opposed to a Giannis, I can never say his last name, but Kyrie Irving versus Giannis. Kyrie Irving is a guy who started off on his yacht with nothing but 50 white girls on his yacht, you know, and years later, now he's posting up from Negroes to Hebrews. That's a personal growth that he went through, that he's adjusted his thought processes and his ideas, that now he's more aware of his surroundings and everything. Whereas that other thing, not saying that there's anything wrong with him having 50 white girls on a boat, but there's a certain amount of awareness that comes along with that type of growth that makes you understand that maybe there might be something problematic that I'm just making these decisions based upon race strictly alone. And, you know, maybe he's gone too far.
Who had that on the boat?
Kyrie. Kyrie used to date nothing but... Kyrie used to date...
Everybody's trying to recreate the Big Pimpin' video, man.
Yeah, but listen, Kyrie used to... Yeah, right. Kyrie used to date nothing but them. And that's where he took a lot of flack. Because people were saying that how can you go from this dude to this dude? You know, now he's wearing a kufi cap. On the other hand, he used to be that. But you know what? We all grow, and this is the man that he has grown into being and becoming. And because of that, because of who he's grown into being, his next contract is kind of in doubt. Where it's going to come from, the number of years, is it going to be a max? It's got nothing to do with whether or not he's playing, because he's balling his ass out. He's showing his ass off. He's showing up every night. That's not what's going to determine that. Public opinion is going to determine that. And America looks at a guy like Giannis, and they say, this is the type of athlete we want representing our city. He shows up every day. He works his ass off. And he loves being here, and he's just grateful for being here. And then an interesting thing came up.
Yeah, but in the politicized environment that we live in, like Kyrie's taking some stances that, you know, when you plant your flag in that soil, you know, you got to take the shit that comes with it. If you want to tell everybody that the earth is flat, You got to ride. You got to ride the shit that comes with that.
And I can't disagree with
that.
You
know, if you want to say that you don't want to get vaxxed, if you say that you don't want to get vaxxed in that politically charged environment that we were in with that president and the way that everything became, about manipulation and control, you got to ride that out.
Well, I definitely don't disagree with that.
Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequences.
No, I don't. I definitely don't disagree with that. But see, what I'm peeping is like Jaylen Brown's situation up in Boston. Jaylen Brown came up a couple of days ago and he said, listen, there's a certain amount of people in the Boston area that are part of the Celtic family that no matter what I do, they're not going to feel me. They're going to say X, Y. They're going to take everything that happens and they're going to attribute it to my personality and my quality. It's not the exact quote that he said. Someone would have to pull up the exact quote, but it was something about. He said, I'm not indicting the whole Celtic nation, but there is a part of that. Probably the descendants of
it's Boston.
Yeah, probably the descendants of those guys that shit on Bill Russell's bed in his house after he won the championship. Okay, so this is so I look at the dichotomy, and we were talking in the Nets group, and these guys were like, oh, well, Jaylen Brown he sounded like he may not sign. He may come to the net. We should go after him. And I'm like, nah, Nets ain't going after him because they just got rid of Kyrie Irving because he was quote unquote problematic. They didn't like those social issues. So I don't see them moving towards that. So it's like what I'm looking at with the NBA, with all of these things, with these players. But
Kyrie took stands on
Go ahead.
Kyrie went out on the edge, though. Kyrie went out on the edge, though. That's not. Kyrie wasn't just normal social issues. Kyrie went out on the edge, and Kyrie sat out most of a season. Because he took a stand and he sat out most of the season.
He attacked Hamitown.
And then at the end, he took a shot at Hamitown. But he to a lot of people who are never going to be in that position, all they know is, and most people would think, if somebody is going to give you that kind of money, you do what the fuck they ask you to do.
Pretty much.
If somebody's paying you that kind of money, show your ass up, get the shot, and play. Your job is to help the Nets win. You out there politicking and talking about government control. That's bullshit. Get your ass on the court and play, man. We buying tickets to watch you play.
That's where we are. Where we are. You got to be a palatable Negro in order to keep that money. You know what I'm saying? And all of these European players that are coming over here with not necessarily as much talent, but are much better fundamentally. You know what I mean? They're not the highlight kind of player, but much better fundamentally, much more sound in terms of playing under a team concept. These young cats, and not to mention the shit with how they're being priced out of just playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? If you were an inner city kid, there's a lot of pricing out of playing basketball now. Where you gotta be on the AAU team, you gotta be able to travel. Yeah, I mean it's a lot going on, man. So when you see somebody like Kyrie or like Ja Morant or whatever that's that made that money and now they starting to wild out, it's for every one of them, that's when you're gonna see two more European, Chinese, whatever other nationality, you're gonna see two more players come in and take them spots that these young cats on the street should have.
Do you think that American players that lose their jobs that way should feel gypped? Oops. I'm sorry, did I say gypped? I have to apologize for that. I have to apologize for that because that's racist. Okay, because now I'm talking about Europeans in a different way, nomads and things of that nature. And I had a big problem with that thing. Whoopi Goldberg, she of course had to come back. They didn't waste any time with that when she said something like that earlier in the show. How many were you guys aware of the term gypped being a slur to people who were Egyptian?
Gypsies.
Gypsies. Oh, gypsies.
Well,
I thought it might be Egyptians.
No, gypsies.
Oh, I was wrong.
I got an interesting gypsy story for you.
Oh, doesn't gypsy just mean like nomad though?
Gypsies are nomads.
No, there's actually It's a crew. I mean, there's people that call themselves. I don't know. There's people that that's an ethnicity for some people, ain't it?
Well, they're a very proud group of people who have traditionally been known for taking advantage of other communities and running confidence games and things of that nature.
5-figure discounts.
5-figure discounts. And, believe it or not, those are the only people, I believe, that weren't descended from Africa. No? Okay. I'm just saying that. But listen, my whole thing was this whole word origin thing is out of control. I think pretty much any word that we have that's a derogatory word has a ethnic base somewhere along the line. And what struck to me when they said that, the first thing that came to my mind, and y'all saw it, I posted it on my page, or you may not have seen it, but I was like, so why are we calling people thugs then? Why are we calling people thugs and insulting the Indian culture and the Indian people? Because thugs are based upon a group of Indians called thuggies who were known to basically befriend people and strangle the travelers and bury their bodies and steal everything that they have. So every time you call someone a thug, aren't you insulting this rich Indian culture as well? But nobody ever thinks about that.
When did we start respecting Indian culture?
Yeah. Right.
When did we start?
The reason why nobody's bitching about that is because that is a group without a voice.
Right. Just like niggas.
Blissfully.
They got a voice. But all right. I every time I go to the damn Sitco, one of them talk to me.
Listen, I worked with.
I wasn't sure which group you were talking about there. Because there's probably a guy outside selling meat, and that's one group, and then there's a guy inside who owns the store, and that's another group.
Right. Usually his incompetent nephew working there. Owner don't be there.
Right. I'm gonna invoke Ann Coulter right now, famous right-wing pundit who says gets damn near everything culturally, as far as I'm concerned, wrong. Damn near everything culturally, but who actually gets this one right when she says that you can't compare the N-word, the word nigger, to any other word in any other culture and everything, because it doesn't have the type of weight, it doesn't have the same history or whatever. And I just find it.
Yeah, there's a word. There's a word in South Africa.
Kafir.
Kind of compares.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we'll get into that. Kafir. But listen, if I'm looking at it like this, why is it that every time one of these words that are questionable in usage, that are used by a black person in speech, why is it the black person that gets dragged? You're not dragging any white people for calling people thugs, which is by far worse to me than gyp, which no one even knows what the fuck the origin is. If you think about the word gypsy, if you think about the world getting gypped, you don't automatically think about nomadic tribes or whatever. You think about somebody fucking getting over on you. Am I wrong?
Yep.
Well, that's just because we've used it so often and for so long.
Yeah.
Like, gypsies were probably always pissed off about it. Gypsies probably always pissed off about it. Yeah. They ain't got no voice, so fuck them.
Come on.
That's how the world feels about that there.
We've used the word thug forever. They have a certain feeling. If you're Jewish...
That group doesn't have a voice either.
Yeah, if you're Jewish, the word would be... The word that would probably get the hair on your back up would be shyster. Right? That's a word that you probably... Right. But you hear that being used, and nobody apologizes for using that word.
Is that really a shyster?
Shyster?
Is that a German word?
Listen,
what you call it? In certain circumstances, you will hear them get their back up about that.
You will, right? But
certain circumstances, listen, you will hear that community get their back up about that word.
Oh yeah, definitely, and they have a right to.
Let Farrakhan say it.
Right.
You know what it is.
Believe it.
You know what the inflammatory word for white people is? Broke.
That's a rare triple
That's
button.
only for 1% of them.
You're getting the flyby.
That's only for 1% of them.
You called me. Wait, even the broke ones don't want to be called broke.
Even the ones who are broke don't want to be identified as broke.
They don't want to be called broke. Goddamn.
That's a lot of our problems, because they think they deserve better than everybody else.
Right. But the word,
how is that brown person have this when I don't have that?
Listen, the word shyster, though, we've even got a word for it. It's shiesty. For black, if you're black, you say the word shiesty. You know, he's motherfucking shiesty, right? We don't think about it in terms of in terms of it being like a negative. No one is saying that about. No one's thinking about Jewish people when they call somebody shiesty. Nobody's thinking about a group of nomads when they call. This is my point. Every negative derogatory term has a basis in some type of cultural background. When is this shit going to stop?
Here's the thing, though. The arrogance of you to think that I'm talking about you in my speech, right? If I say Gene was a shyster and some Jewish motherfucker was to get mad, the arrogance of you to think that I'm even considering fucking Jews when I say what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about this right here. I'm not talking about y'all motherfuckers.
Not even think about you.
I mean, it's.
But if at one point all shysters were Jewish, can you ever use the word and not be referencing back to that?
But all shysters were never Jewish.
At one point in time, yeah, they were, because that word comes from that culture. Yep. You know, it was a word referred to people in that culture. Nobody was going on African continent going, that guy kind of shiesty.
How do we know that? How do we know that the Jews weren't referring to, that the Jewish people weren't referring to people outside of their community as shysters?
They could have.
They could have.
You know what I mean? It could be what's Yiddish? It could be a derivative of some Yiddish word or whatever.
We would need better linguists than the ones that we have on the show today to actually get to the bottom of that history. I can tell you that. You know, but it's definitely. I'm
just saying. You know, I'm not saying that I'm right, but I'm saying that we don't know. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of, to me, that's a lot of what the problem is. A lot of the problem with the world is that motherfuckers present shit as facts when they really don't know. They're making a good guess, you know. And okay, yeah, you can make a good guess. As a person who gambles, I make good guesses all the time, in my opinion. But you know, clearly I'm still gambling, so
it's just a matter of whether or not
my shit is like 50-50.
It really is just a matter of whether or not you believe what's being said to you. I had an interesting experience today, just rolling through my TikTok feed. Something that I find myself, I understand why TikTok is so addictive, and I understand why people want China and TikTok out of the world, because it's really uncontrollable. But going through my feed, I saw a university that was being run by one of my former employers in the real estate business. And it was really interesting, because everything that you see on television with these people that are getting these populist point of views, the government is out to get you, I can tell you exactly what happened. And I'm explaining fractional banking. What he was doing in this video was he was making his assumption based upon what happened in 2006. And we're going to have a good laugh at this, because I'm going to tell you exactly what the video was about. In 2006, he said what they did was all these bankers and these rich people that are way above you that get all this money, they borrowed all this money, and they did it utilizing the dream of home ownership, because that's the American dream, because that's what they tell you that you need to do, right? So they made money off of this. And the mortgage companies could go out and they could write these papers, and they all folded, and these banks folded, and you didn't get anything out of it. You didn't get any money out of this, but these bankers, they got all this money, and then they move forward, and they got this money. And fractional banking is they borrow $100,000 for you, or $1,000 for you from the Federal Reserve, and fractional banking allows them to take that and borrow 100 times that amount of money. And then they take that money and they put it into bonds, and you don't get any money from that. They get all of that money. And then when they come and foreclose on your house, they didn't pay you any of the money. They gave you, the banks, all that money. And this is what it's all about and everything. And I'm watching this video, and I nearly cracked the fuck up. I didn't know whether to, like, my jaw dropped. I didn't know whether to crack the fuck up or to, like, cry or whatever. Because I went to the comment section, and people were saying, I wish this guy was my teacher. I wish I would have learned this. They should have taught me this. My parents should have taught me this information. Bro, in 2006, when the market crashed, that motherfucker owned a mortgage company. He owned a mortgage company. When they crashed and people made money, the mortgage guys didn't have to pay anything back and took X, Y, and Z. It was him. When they started doing short sales and they flipped and everything, he partnered with one of the biggest crooks in the mortgage business to move on to his next business. But he's out here. The reason why it's so fucking sad and why it's so dangerous is because that guy owes me $5,000 today.
Now it makes sense. I was wondering.
This motherfucker owes me $5,000. He's up here telling people. He's up here telling people. No, but he's sitting up here telling people that he is above the law, that he is the guy that you're supposed to trust. And at the end of it, he goes, "Oh, you know, if you need your lending needs or whatever, give me a call. I'm available." I looked at the numbers on the video. The numbers on the video are in the hundreds of thousands. They have no idea who they're fucking talking to. And these are the people that are stepping forward and are putting all these things. I'm not going to put his name out there because I'm not going to put him on blast like that. I'm just not going to do that. I don't do that. My way of getting even is like walking away. He lost more money by me walking at that point in time than he would have gained from that money. So it's like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like whatever and everything. I'm only using him as an example because I know his character and I know his quality.
Look, man. They you know what old Barnum said? Shit. They got people in other countries work diligently all day, every day, looking for suckers. He ain't no different.
These people are eating.
One born every minute.
They are sopping this shit up like a biscuit. They are sopping it up like a biscuit, bro. I'm reading the comments and I'm like, yo, this motherfucker's gonna have an infomercial.
They always have, though. I'm telling you. Yo, America has always been ripe for any type of instructional, motivational, fringe finance expertise,
chicanery.
I mean, because everybody envisions success, you know, in a very similar way, having all this money and this and that, and they will pay for shortcuts because that's what all these people are offering. If someone is charging for their information, they're saying their information is a shortcut somehow. And that's the thing.
Bottom line.
I tell every one of them multi-level people still approach me and I be like, yo, man, I believe it works. I tell them, bro, I believe it works. Right? But I'm not willing to do it. I'm not willing to do what it takes. So just scratch me off the list.
Yeah, it definitely works. If you first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or you put 100 hours in a week, whatever.
Yeah,
you can get it going. You know, I mean, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not doing none of that shit.
Most Americans don't get that. It's not about not being a part of it. If you want to be that person that's like living that lifestyle, lavish, yachts, jet planes, things like that, and everything, you can actually achieve it by being a part of a pyramid. It's just that you have to be the one that starts the pyramid. If you don't start the pyramid
and then sells it,
Yeah.
You still got to sell it. It just don't. It ain't no machine that goes by itself. It's a whole lot of selling that's got to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Even the person that starts it, they usually those are some of the best salespeople. They have They have the stick-to-itiveness to get that thing going, get that engine going where that money machine start printing for them on a monthly basis. Then all they got to do, man, put a shiny suit on and go up on that goddamn stage and do the electric boogaloo for people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cash cow.
The amount of conferences and shit that goes on with this type of shit. I mean, they always got a conference somewhere in 6 or 7 executive level or whatever the term is that they call them. 6 or 7 of these jokers out there, and they made $3 million last year and got the car and all that.
Right.
Like, dog, saw me out, Debo.
Yeah, exactly. I used to, man. I'm talking about. I was in Amway, man. You couldn't tell me shit. I was a goddamn cable installer, driving around in a goddamn cable van, listening to Amway cassettes, and all they were, I didn't know it till later, was sales cassettes. That they forced you to buy. And man, but I was like, yo, this got to be the way. That's why there's so many people that's in that man's seminar and everything else. That's why it's gonna work, because broke
it's
people
gonna work.
Never gonna stop paying for shortcuts.
It's working for him. Rob, are you on? Rob, go ahead. You saying something?
That sweet breath spray that they had, that was good, man.
Yeah, that Banaka.
Yeah.
Everybody in that bitch be spraying too. Happy.
Yo, man.
Yes, I had $10,000 extra for the crew.
East Junior High, man, we all had one in our pocket.
Oh yeah,
man.
we had a Banaka blast. That's right. That's right. I mean, look, to me, I think it's like, I thought it was brilliant marketing as far as getting leads. He's his own lead generation. And you know what? We had conversations about stuff like that. He actually started that when we were there. I'm not going to knock him. You know what I'm saying? I don't knock him. I don't knock people like that, because I think that generally the population has to be smart enough to recognize when you're being taken for a ride. And if you're not smart enough to recognize that you're being taken for a ride, then, well, that's just Darwin's law right there. You don't deserve that money.
I always come back to, in a country without financial education as a part of its basic core curriculum, how half these motherfuckers supposed to know?
Right.
Like, seriously. Like, if you don't have financial education as part of your core, like, it's not like it's a core tenet of our education. Like, you got to go seek that out hard. It's easy for people to get ripped because, they just want a piece.
Yeah, I can't knock them. I can't knock them for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people just trying to make it to tomorrow, man. That's it. They're just trying to make it to tomorrow.
And let's change the
subject. Been there, done that.
So, yeah.
And let's get into tomorrow, too.
They be holding signs.
Let's get into tomorrow. We're going to talk about tomorrow's court cases, AI attorneys right now. They're replacing regular attorneys for a lot of people. I don't know if you've read about this or you've heard about this, but you can actually hire an AI attorney for things that are non-court related to handle your case for stuff that doesn't involve going into the courthouse and seeing a judge. So you can work with AI to actually write your brief for you, do everything to actually argue your case for you even. And this is the new way of the legal world for a lot of attorneys. But, of course, there's a case, and in the case, I'm not so sure about what the parameters are, so if I get this wrong, don't hold me up on it. There's a case where the creator of this AI terminology, because he's not an attorney, somebody brought up a lawsuit against him, and he wanted to actually use the AI in court to argue his case. And the judge said, no, if you do that, then you're actually going to be, I'm going to find you guilty for the offense, which is punishable for up to 9 years as well as a fine. And I found it interesting that they found a way for the attorneys. Basically, they're allowing AI to help attorneys so they can actually do all this pre-work for your case, But at the same time, they're not going to stop you. They're not going to cut off the original attorney who's going to have to go in and cut they're not going to stop that lifeline from going in. And it's something I pointed out to people for over 20 years. When the business thing was going big and we were all arguing on Facebook, I used to tell people, like, listen, you're watching these businesses, but the real juggernaut is the courthouse. Because they were over here in the courthouse and they're building these extra buildings and they're building these, they have all these different places and everything is fines. The city of Ferguson, when they had that report, they found out that that city was being run by fines of black people. But I find it interesting that the courts are basically shutting down AI from actually getting there and arguing in the courts because it's going to take too much of a pie. Whereas on the other side of things, I know someone that's actually working in the AI business that knows they're going to get fired because that works in the IT business that knows they're going to get fired in a few months and they're waiting for the axe to fall. 6-figure job. And they know it's coming anytime within the next 3 to 6 months because they're being rendered obsolete. So the courts can stop AI from actually getting at their jobs, but they can't even stop AI from getting at IT. And we already know what it's done with manufacturing. We already see what they try to do with the trucking industry. We're making these trucks that drive themselves and everything. Do you think that this AI situation with the attorneys is actually going to be the beginning of drawing a line between AI usage and the future? And controlling wages?
Here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. The people who run the courts, who sits in the front of the courtroom?
The judge.
What's a judge?
An
A
attorney.
lawyer. They're protecting their own ass. Truck drivers don't run trucking companies. Corporations do. So they're protecting their profits. The truckers ain't got shit to do with it. Like, the courts are catching their own ass because they're all lawyers. They're all in it together.
Yeah, the AI.
They're upholding their system.
I'd rather have AI.
Paralegal.
I'd rather have AI than a damn lawyer.
The AI is replacing the paralegals. It's replacing the people who do the hourly wages to do the research.
Right. Because a lawyer's job is to spin the best story. So you take this, I get the facts, and so me and Rob are the two attorneys. I got the facts, Rob got the facts. Whichever one of us can spin the best story out of this group of facts, that's the winner.
Yeah, with case law.
Right. Yeah. So the attorney is always going to be a useful piece because you need somebody to figure out how to tell the lie within the truth.
Okay.
To omit the pertinent facts to help your story shine.
Right.
You got to win with case law, and AI can expedite finding appropriate
information,
or what do they call it?
Relevant.
Yeah, or what do they call it? Useful, case law.
Precedence.
Relevant.
Oh yeah, like relevant. Research. Yeah, doing the research in that. Yeah. Like I said, that's the paralegal though.
Yeah, exactly. That's the paralegal. But shit, man, if they can find that, they can find some grade A, Oscar-worthy, award-winning fucking arguments that have already worked. You know what I'm saying? And shit,
True.
It didn't tell you how to say that shit, so that it's effective.
But the point
do
is,
all that, I'll take it.
But the point is, for the future of jobs, where AI is basically coming in and it's attacking everything, and it's allowing companies and big business to actually cut their payrolls and continually show profits every month. I had a lot of thoughts this week, as far as even going back to the pandemic and all of these jobs that people had during the pandemic, or all these things that were happening during the pandemic. And AI basically just coming in here and just shutting people down from jobs. It's just it's
nobody cried when the Ford put the blacksmith out of business. Evolution is evolution.
Yep.
But evolution is going to create
think of all the free time you're going to have. Think of all the free time you're going to have. They'll be able to plug that thing in the back of your head. Like I always say, the Matrix is going to be a documentary soon.
Right.
Because everybody's just going to be on TikTok, and the machine's going to be doing the work.
because you're not going to be. There's not going to be access to. There's not going to be a necessity for access to certain things for certain people. This is what this whole dumbing down is about. It's like we're slowly being walked into the system, and there's nothing that can really be done to stop it. I don't see at this point, because people are so busy separating themselves over. We're still arguing over drag story hour, which is like absolutely ridiculous. Like, common sense would tell you don't have a drag show for little kids and everything. Common sense would just tell you that. That's just to me, in my opinion. But I don't live in Greenwich Village, and I don't have these strong like beliefs and everything and feelings about this, about the community. That I don't, but I definitely don't feel it's appropriate.
When the hell, where are these large scale shows, drag shows for kids going on? Because, you know, and I heard Colin Jost say something similar to this on SNL. But we grew up in New York, like it wasn't like drag shows were on every fucking corner.
No, yeah, because Carlos
like
did.
Drag shows were everywhere.
Carlos did Tina Turner. Carlos did Tina Turner at the talent show. Goddamn.
Not then. Not then.
Right.
Shout out to my man Carlos.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought I took a limo to the school and everything. Boy.
He was not giving a fuck.
Listen, my problem is
you talking about 35 years ago. You talking about 35 years ago when it wasn't out there. Now it's out there.
Yeah, but it's not. It's everywhere, and that community is allowed to stand up and be themselves. But, you know, my daughter went to an ultra-liberal private school. There were no drag shows there. You know, they were accepting of everyone. They're Quakers. They were accepting of everyone. They talked about it. If, you know, my daughter had more than a few classmates who were sort of becoming gay, coming out and blossoming as members of the LGBTQIA community. But there were no drag shows. Like, I just don't know where that's fear mongering.
Well, the flip side,
I honestly believe that is fear mongering.
The flip side of that,
helping to push the cause along.
The flip side of that is DeSantis down in Florida, making it illegal for women to talk about their flows, girls to talk about their flows in class, in conversations about reproduction, and basically taking the whole conversation about reproduction and throwing it out. So that way, the same way you don't get financial education and literacy, you're no longer going to get sexual education and literacy either. So it's two sides of the same coin. Can I just say that all these cultural wars are just bullshit? And just like kind of put them all in the same fucking ball and just say it's all a bunch of bullshit?
To keep us from talking about the shit that really matters.
Right. Like, you know, talking about this one show that's in
the shit that really matters.
I mean, look, if I know that they're going to have a cultural drag show at the same school where my kid is going, I don't want them to see it because, honestly, it's the way that they're dressed more than anything else. Like, I am not one for, and this is the thing, like, I don't really care if a person is how they identify and everything. I just see people, good, bad, otherwise. There's good, bad, otherwise, in any type of way that you can describe yourself any way you want. That's not going to stop me from defining you from being an asshole or not an asshole. Right. No, but listen, it's not going to stop me from, just because you identify as one thing or another, it's not going to stop me from further identifying you as an asshole if you are one, or as a nice person if you are that as well. It's just not, it just doesn't occur to me. It just doesn't come into it's not in my purview. It's not in my thought process whether you're black or white or Hispanic, other than the natural, like the natural things with types of civilizations where you pay attention. If you're in a neighborhood where people have been known to attack, you know, black people, you better be aware of like what racial group you're around. And those types of things. But other than that, if we're in a normal setting, I'm not fucking checking for that. And once again, I'm checking to find out whether or not you are a asshole or not an asshole. So I have to know how to deal with you. All these little subculture fights that we're having in this world are stopping us from getting to the actual things that we need to worry about and we need to discuss.
But here's the thing, though. the majority of people are not having these fucking fights. You know what I'm saying? The majority of people are silent on this shit. You know what I mean? It's the same 10% or whatever percentage of people that are always stirring up shit. You know what I mean? It's not the same people, but it's 10% of people that stir up shit.
I can agree with that. My problem with it is, though, it's still taking up the same 10 to 20% of the airtime that the majority of people are listening to.
Well, it has to, though. It has to.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you something. Yo, everything is completely different. And when I go and you like in Atlanta, if you like, they got drill teams, cheerleading squads and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yo, I'm talking about they got dudes with ponytails on them. That's like a normal thing, And then, I got a nephew. Yo, his name ain't Noah no more. He say, call him Rosie. Yo, that's it's kind of wild, bro. I mean, I be thinking about it. I be like, dang, he's the same age as my son.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, and we all have relatives or whatever.
Different.
You know what I mean?
It's really different right now. Like, but
I would say,
I'm not gonna say that I'm thoroughly convinced that a young person, and young is relative, but most let's just say 15 and under, 16 and under. I'm not convinced that they are making concrete decisions at that age. That that they know exactly who they are.
You know what?
They can't buy cigarettes. They can't gamble.
My answer to that would be
buy alcohol.
My answer to that would be, you know what? That's okay. I'm actually okay with that. Because you know what?
Choose their pronoun.
No, I think it's okay. Really, at 15, 16 years old, if you want to change your name from Noah to Rosie and everything because you're becoming a little bit more self-aware, I have no problem with that. Just recognize the fact that I also have no problem if at 18, that person goes back to calling himself Noah. And if he does whatever, no matter what their sexual proclivities are or how they identify, I have no problem with that because that is you. When you're 15 and 16, that's when we make our first mistakes. That's when we start fucking up. You're not supposed to be right. And that's another problem with this world today is that everything is like, because with this camera culture and everything, you make one mistake and that mistake is with you forever. Every mistake you make as a young person does not necessarily mean, it does not define who you are. There is no reason for that person to go out there, if they make a mistake, to go out there and hang themselves or jump off of a bridge. We got to stop telling these kids that shit's wrong and everything. But at the same time, I'm not going to back off on the fact that I feel like it's whatever you want to call yourself is what you want to call yourself. The same way, like, I'm not going to get on Russell Wilson for letting Ciara wear that dress to the Grammys because, honestly, I enjoy seeing Ciara's naked body. And I'm not complaining about it at any point in time. I'm never going to complain about that. Do you understand what I'm saying? She's not coming over, so if I can watch it on TV, I'm okay with that. Yo, you got to.
She's been selling ass for 20 years. Well, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Damn.
No, but it's the truth, though.
Yeah.
Rob, what are you saying?
Muted, Rob.
You got your mute on there, Rob. You're talking.
That's her brand. Like he's not supposed to mess with her paper. That's
That's what she do.
She's what she is.
I'm not mad at her, and I'm not mad at Russell.
I never thought Ciara or Beyonce was what everybody think they are. I don't get it, but I mean,
Beyonce a little
there's
bit
some
less.
stunners out there. They
Ciara?
talented, but
Ciara.
Ciara's. She make a good dog break his leash.
Yeah, she can shake it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like leaving tonight. And she listened to the show and say it's
Ciara's
like, it's
girl.
okay. She can do
for
that.
sure. But
maybe while she's on vacation in Malaysia, she'll listen.
Yeah,
people
maybe.
Put them up as the end all be all.
Maybe. Well, listen, but I seen cats. I think the best point of view.
The end all be all is an individual choice for everybody.
Yeah. I think the best point I saw on that was like,
but the fact that people were mad that his wife went out like that, like, come on, man, let that old shit go.
Yeah, I saw somebody that said something. He's like, yo, listen,
let her be herself.
There's a chick that looks like Ciara at your local mall that you can't pull right now, and you're talking about you got to tell Ciara what not to wear to the Grammys. You can't even pull the chick that works behind the sales counter that looks like Ciara that you could use, that could probably use your help. At this point in time, if you're able to say the right things, you can get that. So you should stop trying to tell Ciara what to wear. Listen, people wear what they want to wear, they act. This is what a free country is about. All this internet shit and all these like, you know, conversations, even our conversations to a certain point. If you want to say fuck you to anything that we say, you're well within your rights. You know what I'm saying? You are well within your rights to do that. You're well within your rights to, you know, have an opinion on Ciara, but don't tell her to cover up.
You know what we haven't mentioned?
What's that?
And I'm surprised as to John.
What?
Your boys won the Long Island Championship the other day.
Oh, yeah, Brentwood basketball, no doubt.
Brentwood High School.
Brentwood High School.
Oh, yeah, I read that.
The Indians. Yeah. Yep. That was once my life.
And they're still the Indians, huh?
Still the Indians. Still the Indians, man.
No voice.
Listen.
Yeah, I used to
no
have
voice.
I used to have the plastic cups. I used to have the plastic cups with the Indian print that wore off in a while. The Brentwood cups.
Based upon the demographics now, it's a little bit more true than it was back in the day, though, so we can say that. If we were to run genealogy tests, I think we probably come a little bit closer to the actual Indians notoriously now. So that's a good thing. That's because a lot of brothers, that
ain't what 23andMe say.
That's right. They say that the Africans are just Africans. They only gave you what?
Sub-Saharan African.
Sub-Saharan African, that's it. Sub-Saharan African could have been Tennessee, brother. They just changed it up. I gave him my formula, my kill switch formula. Well, you got to remember.
Gave it up.
You got to remember, you're giving that to they who control the information. So they who control the information and narrative, they can say you're from sub-Saharan Mexico if they want. Well, big shout out to Brentwood. I'm always proud of the program, man. But guess what, fellas? We're out of time. From New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and right now, Florida. Mr. Robert
Believe
Brooks.
it. Get back some warm temperatures tomorrow. It's been a little bit chilly down here for Florida.
Well, come on back up, man.
It's
we'll be happy to have you up north. And down in Atlanta.
It was 61 degrees the high today.
Oof.
Down in Atlanta, where last month's electricity bill was $420.
Mr. Gene Hopkins, Dumb K, all day.
Hey, do like Teddy Pendergrass.
I'll put it in order after I get back from spring training to help defray the cost.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
We'll get it right out for you.
And of course, from Detroit, Michigan, home of City Wings.
2896 West Grand Boulevard, Detroit, Michigan. Come down and get you some.
Come get you some.
City wine.
City. Mr. Grant Lancaster. Fellas, that's it. I'm going to cut it off because, bro, I'm trying to keep us closer to an hour.
No big intro for our shadow character?
Which shadow character?
Like John X been hiding in the shadows the last couple weeks.
Oh, come on, bro.
You motherfucker.
Come on, bro. Listen, man. Y'all trying to kill me. You're killing me.
Look at the screen, goddammit.
You're killing me, bro.
There's three people on the screen, and then there's an amorphous blob.
Listen, man, you guys are killing me.
Only one of us doesn't have facial features.
You're killing me. There you go. There you go. You get to see me before you leave. I turned it on. Holla! Born in Trouble. See y'all next week. Come and check us out for our Not an Episodes. For our Not an Episode, I got a good one planned. Peace.